Beth Shibley. I'm the program director for Aging Matter in Brevard's Sunflower House, a caregiver resource center. And this is the very first Sunflower House workshop on Caregiving 101, which has been a long time in coming and a lot of starts and stops. This is a 4 consecutive week kind of seminar workshop for folks who would like to sort of understand the basics of caregiving. You've got somebody in your life that you love and you have found now they need some additional help, and you just want to educate and research and kind of know some of the stuff as you go into this world. And today, this is the first very unit, and it's Introduction to Caregiving. And I have with me today Kara Anderson from Simplifying Senior Living, and Lori Cantalupo. Did I pronounce that right, Lori?
You did.
And she's Aging Matter in Brevard's intake specialist. And also joining, and Allie Mazian is actually from Aging Matters in Brevard as well, but she's here as a spectator and a participant. And Kathy, I'd love to have, you know, why don't we all start by just quickly introducing ourselves for a couple of minutes. I think I've already gone on a little long. Kathy, if you'd like to talk a little bit about who you are and what brings you here today, that'd be great.
Okay. We live in Port St. John. My name is Kathy Portlock. We had Wayne's mom just move in with us about a month and a half ago. And yeah, I kind of don't know where to start with some of this. So I'm looking for some help. So point us in the right direction. Now, I used to be a nurse years ago, been a very long time, but not in the state of Florida. Things are a whole lot different here. So if, yeah, we could use some help.
Yeah, I also was a nurse in a world in a galaxy far, far away. That's my degree is in, and I think sometimes it just makes me dangerous.
Yeah, I agree. I understand that comment.
So, Kara, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself quickly and
Sure.
your company?
Sure. Kathy, I hope you don't view this as an intervention. It's your own private consulting session.
No, I don't.
So we're glad you're here. My name is Kara Anderson. I'm a social worker by degree. And about 6.5 years ago, I started my own company to help seniors and their families find the services that they need within Brevard County. My specific target and what actually compensates me for my services are when folks move into assisted living facilities, independent living facilities. However, I do make referrals to whatever services are appropriate for the individual to be sure that they're on the right path. And I appreciate opportunities like this to be able to educate and spread the good word of all of the positive resources we have in Brevard County so that people don't feel lost and they do feel like they have somewhere to start and then somewhere to go. So I'm glad you're here, Kathy, Allie, Lori, and Beth. This is going to be a good time.
Oh.
Hi. And so, Lori, could you talk a little bit about where you, who you are and what you do?
I sure will. I am Lori Cantalupo. I am the intake specialist at Aging Matters in Brevard. So when you call in, you will start with me. I do the intake process, and then, we take it from there. If you need any other assistance in-house, I can help you with that or refer you out if that's what is needed.
Okay.
Terrific. And Allie, how about you? Wouldn't you just join in and let us know where things are today?
Sure. My name is Allie Almation. I'm the program director over the home and community-based services at Aging Matters. I'm just kind of enjoying and listening, and I really welcome everyone on board. And thank you, Kathy, for joining in and wanting to learn a little bit about the services that the community can offer for our caregivers and our seniors in Brevard County. So looking forward to this. And I also am a social worker by degree and have enjoyed the medical field and servicing seniors for about 10 years now.
Thank you.
Terrific. I think I'd love to start with you, Lori. If you could, I think that Lori's space is a smart, logical place to start, sort of like at the beginning. So Lori, walk us through, when somebody first figures out that they're going to be caregiving.
Yes. Like I said, they will call in, and what they do is they schedule an appointment with me. We do a screening over the phone. It typically takes about 30 minutes, and that helps us assess the need, what they need, and, we go over their daily living, their ADLs, which is their activities of daily living, and their IADLs, which is instrumental activities of daily living. And that gives us an idea of, how much help they need in the home, what kind of help they need, things like that. And, like I said, we'll do that. And then if I see they need, if we're going over and I'll say, do you need any help, taking a shower? And they say, yes, I don't feel comfortable. I get nervous. Then I can refer them to Rose for grab bars, to the Sunflower House for a bath chair, if they don't have that. So our screening form is about 6 pages. So it gets pretty in-depth. That way we can understand, where the help is needed. And also if we don't have what they need, I can also refer them out somewhere else.
Okay. All right. So, Lori, could you talk a little bit about different kinds of, how you go about assessing needs? So talk to me a little bit about the intake process and what, let's go into it a little bit.
Sure. What we do is we start off with, there's a pretty big section on their health. And as I stated, their daily living. Allie, you can jump in at any time if I'm not explaining myself correctly. This is my first time doing one, so I'm but yes. So then we go through, and each section, has what they can or cannot do. So that, like I said, that helps us assess, where the needs are, or if it's a caregiver and they're looking for caregiver respite, where that is that they feel they need the most help.
Okay, so when you talk about, I've said that it's totally different kinds of caregiving needs based on what it is your loved one has. I mean, so, we have somebody that maybe, when my mom needed to have her knee replaced, that's a totally different kind of caregiving than the caregiving that has to happen with my dad when he was diagnosed with Parkinson's, or my or my father-in-law who had a stroke last month. They're totally different kinds of caregiving. And it would be wonderful if we could just sort of have a conversation about, and I've got another person that wants to join in, which is great. I'd love to start a conversation on what kind of the acronyms and the different understanding of, what are different, and maybe Allie, even though you're just here as a participant, as an observer, you could help us talk about kind of the common acronyms that happen when you first are learning to be a caregiver. So Lori and Allie, if you could talk to me about the differences in like what kinds of resources are out there.
Yeah, and I'll chime in a little bit. So my easiest way when I was out in the field and not working for Aging Matters, I had done several referrals to Aging Matters, not realizing what a big umbrella everything is and what we all do. There are different, so Lori's position really does a plethora of different, it may be one screening, but it's a plethora of different resources. So we get funded through different grants and funding sources through the state and the government to be able to help serve our seniors in Brevard County and their caregivers. So a couple of them that Lori does is she works under the Older Americans Act. So Lori's screenings are particular to that grant specifically, and they're more on a short-term basis. So when they need to have just homemaking and the person is living alone, Lori can complete that screening to be able to help with just homemaking. Someone who might just need a little bit of help with laundry, or who might need a little bit of help with shopping assistance or making the beds. And then if we get to our broader spectrum is if they have a caregiver in the home and that caregiver is just really burnt and they need some assistance and they need that respite. So Lori will work towards a different program, which is called the Older Americans 3E Act, which is a little bit different. There are different subtitles in each of the Older Americans. There's the 3B, which is Section 3, Part B, and then there's the Section 3, Part E. And without getting too in-depth and too involved, they just separate a little bit and kind of define whether you have someone that just needs help with homemaking and personal care, or if you need help with a caregiver respite relief. And
hang on a second.
Yeah.
If you just hold on one second, Allie, I want to welcome Stony and Deb. Hi. Are you joining us? It looks like we have another folks joining us today. Well, I have somebody on screen. If at some point, it might be that you don't have your microphone on or your volume up. I don't hear you, but that's okay. You're joining the Caregiver 101, and we're in the very first section. And I'm here today with, my name is Beth, and I'm here today with Kara and Allie, and the woman, and the other woman listed as Allie. In the red shirt is actually, her name is actually Lori, and she's using Allie's double dipping on Allie's technology. And then Kathy's joining us as somebody that's newly entering the world of caregiving and is interested in learning about services that might be available specifically in Brevard County, Florida. I think some of this stuff, and I'll let you get back to it in a little bit, Allie, but I think some of this stuff is most likely if you are coming in from a different part of the United States. I think some of these services are most likely available in another part of the United States. Some of this information is absolutely going to be transferable, but I would suggest you get a hold of anybody that's coming in from a different part of the United States and watching this should get a hold of their local area agency on aging to find out about some of the services available through the Older Americans Act. And Allie started talking about some of our funding stream. Allie and Lori, if you could talk a little bit about the differences between, what a homemaker does versus versus a personal care attendant versus somebody who's doing, what does respite service mean? If you could kind of go into those different services, Lori and Allie, that would be wonderful. That's really it. I think I'd like to be able to start to unwrap and unpack for people who have no idea what the difference is between those folks.
Lori, do you want to chime in, Lori, or do you want me to?
You can, and I'll add if I need to.
Sure. So the homemaking services are under the Older Americans Act. We offer homemaking, personal care, and respite. I'll go through each one. So the personal care is your bathing and your grooming. Those are the things that you need the help with, your activities of daily living, with hygiene. Most of our services, or I should say all of our services, are non-medical. So they're not dealing anything with wrapping bandages or dealing with lymphedema. You can apply lotion, but non-medical cream type of thing. So your bathing is everything that is dealing with your personal care is your bathing. Your homemaking is your shopping assistance and doing your linens and doing laundry, shopping, going out in the community. We don't drive any of our clients just for liability purposes, but we do help around the home with making sure that safety-wise everything is neat and tidy and clean. We always kind of refer that homemaking is a light housekeeping. We're not on our hands and knees and we're not up on step stools, but we definitely want to make sure that safety-wise everything is okay in the home. And on the other part of it, respite is really anything that encompasses what the caregiver might be doing when the caregiver is out of the home. So if that caregiver needs a break, they need to take a nap, they need to go to the store, they need to go get their hair done, they just need a break. If that caregiver is going to give a bath, that person will come in and help with the bath. If the person was going to be doing laundry or the caregiver was going to be doing laundry, that's what the aide will be doing when they go in the home. It's anything that pertains to what the caregiver might be doing. So it's a respite relief. It's a program that enables the caregiver to get a break. And then there is another kind of sidestep on that Older Americans 3E Act that I talked about that provides caregiver relief. And what that does is it's a supplies service. So we offer usually on a monthly basis a supplemental supplies such as briefs or incontinence supplies, nutritional intake such as Ensure, or anything that's more of a supplemental resource, and sometimes wipes and gloves. It's not to completely take over anything that you might be out of pocketing, but it's to help supplement it and make life a little bit easier. So hopefully those are the services under the Older Americans Act that Lori really deals with, and making sure that they're set up with getting for resources. It kind of goes into a lot. We could definitely go down some big rabbit holes here because there's a lot of information that we do and a lot of resources, but basically you've got your short term and your long term, and then Lori makes those referrals as needed for anything longer than 6 months to a year. And our programs don't last just a year. Sometimes we've got people on them for a couple of years, and they're going through the Medicaid process and trying to get extra long-term assistance. But we're here to service our seniors and here to make sure that their caregivers and the seniors are taken care of the best we can safely in their home.
Thank you.
Safe is the key word, of course.
Yeah, I got I don't know if anybody can take a look at the chat box. Stony and Deb are joining us, and their questions by the chat, by chatting and saying, I don't want to interrupt, but would like some more information about services for my mom. She lives on her own and I'm her caregiver. I guess I would love it if I could have Lori. She's 96. And I guess I'm going to ask Stony and Deb to reply on chat. Yeah, my assumption is that you live here in Brevard. You live in Brevard County, and we would. Oh, cool. She's responding. This is working out okay. So, you live in Barefoot Bay. That's perfect. So, that's where your mom lives. Okay, so specifically, there's also some specific services that we can speak to. The homemaker in-home care programs that Allie's been talking about and that Lori mentioned. But there's also congregate meals and Meals on Wheels, correct, Allie?
Yes.
And Lori?
Yep. Those are some additional resources for sure. There's your congregate meals. Of course, with COVID and everything going on, we're very limited with what resources are available in congregate. And I do see she does get Meals on Wheels, so that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And Meals on Wheels is a really good wellness check. They're getting checked on almost daily. It's been tough during COVID because they're not doing that in-home step in the home to get a visual of everything going on, but they still have, or they hope to have a visual from at least the door. So it's tough, and you do the bathing and the laundry, and I guess Deb and Stony, are you guys living in with your mom who's 96, or are you just outside caregiving? Okay, so Deb, do you live with your mom who's 96, or is she living with you?
I think she lives on her own.
Okay. So you probably would, and Lori, would you jump in? Would it be a respite caregiver relief if she's providing even though she's not living in the home? Would it be a caregiver, or would just fall under the 3B, Lori?
I would go with the 3B. That would, get them in there to help with the homemaking, the light meal prep if needed, the bathing.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say 3B.
Kathy, have you got any questions at this point, Kathy, that you'd like to add? Okay.
No, not really. We're kind of not sure exactly what she needs yet. We're just kind of assessing that. We're going to have her assessed. So far she's doing okay here, but I'm not sure for how long.
And you
Right.
know, and my chime in on that is the sooner you do, the better, because our
yeah.
funding is limited. It's, you know, our different funding runs from different times of the year. And because we've got such a broad amount of seniors in Brevard County, our funding runs out. So the best thing to do would be to get your parents or to get your loved one on the screening wait list with Lori, complete that screening with Lori. And we'll make sure that we provide information and phone numbers, and everything's on agingmattersbrevard.org as well for our phone numbers. And, you know, there's links to websites, and you can send emails or you can call, but the best thing to do is to really get them on that screening, get that screening done and get them on that wait list. So kind of the way that it works is they are screened and prioritized and kind of triaged with other seniors in Brevard County. So if they are independent right now, it doesn't mean that in 2 more months they're not going to be as independent as they were before. So we always encourage that if there's a major change of condition, if something happened, a major hospitalization, have them have a decline from walking with a walker to being in a wheelchair, or some change in status, to reach back out to us so we can complete a different re-screening, because they are, for a lack of better term, scored with other seniors. So someone may be on the wait list and it's happened before because of funding. We can't open everyone up. So they are scored, for lack of better terms, with other seniors and other caregivers in Brevard County. You know, God, I don't know how many times Lori and I sit there and go through the screenings and say how we wished we had so much more funding to be able to open up so many more people, because who's to say that one person is more needy than someone else? You know, it's an over the phone screening, you know, and it's such a standardized Department of Elder Affairs screening that it does the best it can, and Lori works with the best that she can to be able to kind of see through things, but it's still very standardized. So the more specific, yeah.
So, Allie, one of the questions that Deb has is whether or not this is covered by insurance. So, could you speak a little bit, and then I want to move over to Kara, who can speak to folks who have made the decision that maybe they need to look at other options. But if you could quickly just speak to, you know, like what a cost was, or you know, or if there's, you know, insurance, or how does this get paid for, Allie?
So we are state and federal serviced. So we get grants through the state and the government to be able to help with these services. So under the Older Americans Act services, even though they might be short term, I guess you could say it sometimes can last a year or two, sometimes longer, those have no cost related to it. When Lori completes a screening, and if this person gets on our services through the Older Americans Act, yes, there's still no cost to it, but they may need services for a longer period of time, and Lori will then refer our client over to Senior Resource Alliance to do a longer term process, a longer term evaluation, and then they get on a wait list for that. Those longer term programs are still state and federally funded, or they're funded, but there is a copay associated with it. It is nominal. It's based off from your income. It doesn't go by expenses. It doesn't go by anything else besides just strictly income. And it's usually 1 to 3% of your income is your copay on a monthly basis, totally regardless of how many services you have. I love the cat, Kara. Totally.
The cat joins us at every meeting, Allie.
Oh, there's 2, and they're both right here. So I apologize.
I love it.
It's regardless of how many services you have. So it does not get covered by insurance, but it is covered through different funds and grants. The insurance one is your skilled services, your therapy, your nursing, the medical care that you're looking for. If they need to have, probably like you mentioned, it was and that is just more that is more of a 6 to 8 week program where they bill your Medicare or your supplemental insurance. This is totally different.
Okay, so thank you so much for kind of kind of giving us just a little bit of an overview on kind of the real basics of what kinds of things Aging Matters in Brevard can provide for people who are new to caregiving. Kathy, I hope that you've gotten some information from it. Deb, I hope you too. Let me see. Let's see. She's added to her chat. Let's see. What would be the cost? She's time limited. She's declined quite a bit over the past year and had 5 falls. I've been trying to get her for over a year to get her services from the VA. So she's either Deb, she's either the spouse of a veteran or a veteran herself. She's the spouse of a veteran. Okay. Is there? I know that the VA services are different and sort of stand aside from, and can be supplemental, correct, from other services. Lori, when you have, and I hate to put you off, Kara, but I'm going to ask you to just hang on for a couple seconds more. But Lori, when you find out that somebody's the spouse of a veteran, is there anything that we can do to help figure out that piece?
We can, like they'll do the screening with me. Usually, I'm not sure, Allie, are the spouses covered with the VA?
Sometimes it can be. It depends on the disability or the amount of I'm thinking of the better term for it, but how much they are a veteran. I guess some are 100%, some are 90%, 80%. So I think it really depends on that. The VA process is really long and very cumbersome. It sometimes the VA go in collaboration with Medicare. Sometimes it can go in collaboration with Medicaid. We are totally different. So I would strongly encourage you guys to, get a screening done with Laura to see what we can do. And, if she's had 5 falls in this past time, I don't know if she's had more skilled services, but a nurse and therapy coming into the home, but the physician can order that, and that is covered by the insurance. So it is something that may not hurt to get done. They're very limited. I've worked in the skilled. She's had that for 3 months last year. Yeah, it is short term. They do it goal oriented. It's once you either make strides too quickly or don't make strides long enough, they're going to cut it out quick, so it's tough because it's all based.
Allie, can you reapply for that if there's been a decline if they've had services like Deb had mentioned that her mom, over the past 5 years over the past year has had 5 additional falls and looks like she's declining. Can they reapply for some of these services, or this is a once and done?
They can. It also depends on their insurance too. Sometimes Medicare only covers a certain amount of visits per calendar year with them. And in order to get those supplies, revamp those supplies or the benefits again, I'm not 100% sure, but there may be a qualifying period of time that they need to not have services in order to recoup those days again. My best option to you guys would be to reach back out to the physician and reach out to your insurance to be able to see what she can apply for or get for services now. Every insurance is different. Every plan is different. And think about this too. In-home therapy is good, but it's not intense. Doing outpatient therapy sometimes could be very beneficial because they've got all of those medical equipments in there, and they're using the bike, they're using the weights, they might be using, and they've got the therapist almost one-on-one or group with one, and they're not only once or twice in the home, they're using the equipment in there. And also think about too that if she's been hospitalized for a few days and she goes into the hospital, she may qualify for a rehab stay and to get some intensive rehab therapy, which is a couple times a day, several times a week. So just kind of think your options, talk to your physician, see what the other options are out there too.
Thank you very much. Now, Kara, I'd like to kind of transition over to Kara, who, Deb, you joined us after we had all kind of done some introductions. Kara's with Simplifying Senior Living. And Kara, if you could talk a little bit again quickly about what it is that you do when you and kind of the niche that you're going to talk about today.
Absolutely. In fact, it's not so niche today. It's kind of a really broad conversation that I'll go through as quickly and as succinctly as possible. But this conversation is actually on Aging Matters Facebook a couple of times under this title, as well as under their 3 Quick Tips series. So you can get this information in a couple of places. And of course, you can call me anytime if there's questions regarding this information. My primary service is to help folks find living options, whether it's in an independent, assisted, or memory care facility, or if you need services within the home to kind of help you track those down and figure out what it is and what direction you need to go to get the services that you need. So that's kind of my purpose in life. People say I'm an angel. I say, no, I'm a social worker. 2 very different things. I'm very flawed, but that social worker degree gets me a little bit of forgiveness, so I'll take it. So if y'all are okay, we're just going to go through these slides kind of quickly, and hopefully Kathy and Stony and Deb, this will answer some questions for you or give you some concrete direction or at least some thought. And certainly follow-up questions to Aging Matters or myself are welcomed anytime. So what I'd like to cover in this conversation, if I can get it to move. Hey, there we
There
go.
it is.
Talk about who pays. That seems to be a question we've already discussed with Stony and Deb. Know your goals, know your resources, what's out there, and what are your options according to what you're able to pay or have paid for. Medical insurance, I'm sure you all have experience. It doesn't cover the cost of everything. It doesn't cover the cost of medical facilities beyond those acute care stays. Medicare doesn't cover the cost of medical facilities beyond acute care stays. It does pay for some of that home health care that we were just referring to coming into the home, different events that Allie was talking about. Medicare does pay for doctor's appointments. Medicare does not pay for room, board, or care at assisted living facilities. Of course, that's not an all-inclusive list of what it does not pay for. So you'd want to look at medicare.gov for more specific information on what your Medicare benefits cover.
So also, Kara, when you're talking about in home care services, most of those with Medicare would require a referral from your doctor, correct? So if you're talking about OT or PT, you just can't call up a physical therapist and say, hey, I need this and get it qualified. You have to go through your doctor for these things.
That's correct, but you could call the actual home health company of your choice and say, hey, I'd like to see if I qualify for benefits. My doctor is Dr. Beth, and then the home health company can call Dr. Beth, run through what you're eligible for. They can run your Medicare and your insurance and find out exactly what it is you qualify for at this time. So it goes either way. You can call your doctor or you can call the service that will call your doctor.
Oh,
so
cool.
They're very helpful to help you get services.
Yeah.
Another way to go, long-term care insurance. If you've got it, you've got it. If you don't, you don't. So you might want to check the bottoms of those files to see if any policies were purchased at any time. A lot of our senior folks don't realize that that's what they purchased, and they have a policy hiding somewhere in the depths of all that paperwork in that very special folder that we've all labeled special papers. The statewide Medicaid managed care plan. This is the state of Florida privatization of the Medicaid program. So it has its very own website. You can go to the flmedicaidmanagedcare.com. It will give you a lot of answers as to how to qualify, who qualifies, etc. It is it's a fairly easy application process. It's just pretty lengthy to get approved and then to realize the benefit of that program. So as Allie was mentioning, these are all things that you want to do soon if you want to realize the benefit in the near future. Veterans assistance. It's best to seek assistance with that application from a VA accredited individual. Just talking about that VA application, I saw Stony and Deb after Allie mentioned there's a lot of paperwork. I think the exact word was indeed in all caps. They would agree, lots of paperwork there. But understanding if you qualify for the benefit, whether it's the spouse of the deceased veteran, whether it's the couple where one of the spouses is a veteran, and sometimes both spouses are a veteran, understanding what you qualify for is super important I do have a resource for a free seminar on that. You're welcome to email me and ask me for more information on that particular information. Knowing your goals, knowing what's important to you. Is it important to stay in the home? Is it important for you to stay safe? Is it important for you to have services that you can afford? So all of these things take a little bit of advanced planning, understanding, powering yourself with knowledge of your insurance, what's available to you, finances, what your diagnosed issues are, your advanced directives, meaning who's making decisions for you, or for a parent. If you're assisting with an aging parent, do you have the proper documents in place to assist them with decision making? And who helps you achieve?
Hang on a second, Kara. I just want to put a little plug in for week 3 of our of this series, because in week 3 we're going to be joined by Ruth Rhodes from Rhodes Law, who's going to be able to talk to us a little bit about those. I'm sure we can talk to her about it. We'll be talking about advanced directives and durable power of attorney, and she'll be able to touch on those pieces. So I'm encouraging Deb and Kathy to both kind of hang in there for each one of these weeks at the same time, Tuesdays at 2 o'clock. Go ahead, Kara. Sorry for the interruption, but I wanted to put that
excellent point. I should have pointed that out. Ruth Rhodes would be a great resource, will be a great resource for you on those documents and knowing what you need to have. And she can be one of the people in your circle of concern. I like to mention for folks, the circle of concern is anybody who's involved in the care and concern of you and your loved one, whoever it is you're providing care for. It's their physician, it's their church, it's their everybody who participates in the care of your loved one. Very important that you're including them to help you accomplish these goals, and that you're asking questions, and that you surround yourself with people who, if they don't know the answer, they can find you the answer, because you're not expected to make a 100% on this pop quiz of caring for your parent the very first time. So we're all out here to help. So knowing resources that are out there, care management is a great tool. They're called aging life care professionals these days, but care management is a great tool to utilize. If you're in need of legal advice, you go to a lawyer. If you're in need of accounting advice, you go to an accountant. A geriatric care manager is one of those people that knows a lot about a lot when it comes to seniors and aging. And they help a lot of people stay at home safely. They look at the overall picture of the individual within their home, and they kind of do a cost analysis of what it's going to cost to stay at home if that's the goal of the individual. Because don't we all want to stay at home? I know my grandmother said she was coming out feet first, and then we had to put all these plans in place to make that happen, but that can be very cost prohibitive. So understanding what happens if you have a significant event and your loved one can no longer stay at home because it's just not affordable from a cost perspective, or maybe it's just not the wise thing to do for safety. Maybe it's not the best thing to do for your mental health, because you taking care of them 24/7 is a lot for you as well. So understanding with that care manager that your plan's going to change, that you've got to look at the different costs associated with each of these choices. And then if you have a care manager, they come back to the table with a new plan. Who pays for that care management? Long-term care insurance often pays for some services of a care manager, but also employee assistance programs. If you are employed, chances are that your company has an employee assistance program. Often they cover a few meetings with a care manager, so that's something to look into. Your human resources department would be familiar with your employee assistance program and be able to determine whether or not you have that particular benefit available to you. And then, as I said, care managers are now called aging life care professionals, and you can find one at aginglifecare.org. You enter in your zip code, and it'll tell you who's registered here in this area, or your area, wherever your zip code is. Knowing your options of care, what kind of care is available and out there. Private duty home care, whether you're getting that through Aging Matters, all of the services that Allie and Lori described previously, folks coming into your home and assisting the caregiver in either homemaking companion duties or actual physical hands-on care, assisting with showers. When you get that through a private agency, those caregivers can range from $18 to $24 per hour. Going with an agency is always better than going with a friend or a private individual because of insurance and bonding issues. And then know exactly what you want that caregiver to do so that you can maximize the time that they're in your home. Are they providing hands-on assistance with activities of daily living? Are they just providing housekeeping services? Those are going to cost different. So you want to be sure you know what you want before you are putting out those phone calls to see how much these services will cost. A private duty caregiver should never, ever be responsible for paying bills, cashing checks, or other fiduciary responsibilities. I know we think in our head that makes, duh, that's obvious, but it's kind of interesting how many people say, oh, I just gave the individual my debit card to run pick up some groceries, or I just gave them my checkbook to pay a bill. We should never do that with private duty caregivers.
And I'm going to
So what are your goals?
I'm going to put in a little bit of a blurb there quickly, that I think that protects not only the person in the home, but the person that you've hired.
You're exactly right.
Because there's no, there's stuff happens in the middle of things, and you're just putting everything at risk when you start to get involved with sort of those extra things like that. So writing checks and giving cash, and it just gets really complicated and can go sideways very quickly. Go ahead, Kara.
Yeah, it's a very vulnerable relationship. So keeping money out of it is probably best for everybody involved. So who pays for this? Private pay, you pay out of your pocket. Perhaps you have that long-term care insurance policy that has the benefit. VA aid and attendance, the VA benefit that you can apply for, they have a home care benefit as well as what they consider a long-term care benefit, which would be a facility-based benefit, and then Medicaid managed care. I will tell you, Medicaid is less likely to approve in-home care because it is more expensive, and the hours that they're approving right now are about 12 to 16 hours a week, and usually that's not quite enough for folks who need support in the home.
But it can help
Independent
some.
living. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you want to say something, Beth?
No, it's just, it can help some.
Yes.
If you're looking for additional help and you really are still okay with doing most of the primary care yourself, but if you can do, it can help some. But you're right, it's not going to cover 24/7.
Exactly. 160 hours, minus 12 hours leaves a lot of hours. Again, I'm a social worker. I don't do math, so input your math there on what's left over that the individuals by themselves. So independent living is an option, and it can range anywhere from a sliding scale rent for low-income seniors to $4,000 plus per month. It just depends on the facilities, the amenities, etc. Sliding scale rental communities often have a fairly lengthy waiting list. So if you think that that's something that's going to be appropriate, you want to go ahead and get on the waiting list now. And you can always defer if an apartment comes up before you're available, or before you're ready, or, you just to be on that list is important. Independent living often doesn't offer services, but they will let providers come in who offer services such as private duty or home health. Different independent living facilities offer different meal plans, and they typically offer organized social activities. So if getting out of that big home, getting away from those large chores, and getting around some social opportunities is important, then that's a good option. Assisted living is a little bit less restrictive than independent living, and it can cost between $3,000 to $6,000 plus per month. And that is an out-of-pocket expense. It is private pay. Medicaid will provide the facility with a stipend if you are Medicaid approved, and that's for care only. It does not cover the room and board portion of the monthly rent. Long-term care insurance often covers with a daily or monthly benefit, and then VA aid and attendance, if you apply for that, will also, you can pay for assisted living with your benefit. The VA benefit, of course, comes to you or to your parent or the veteran themselves, and then it is paid to the facility. How do you know what's right for you? Taking a look early is really important. Taking a look around at what the different options are, what the different environments are. You can get anything from kind of a cruise ship to a residential home that's just like a home away from home for that individual. And the costs vary on each one. So getting prepared, taking a look, kind of wrapping your head around what assisted living offers, and then meeting people within the assisted living arena, people like myself, people that work in these facilities, and adding them to your circle of concern for your parent or your loved one is really important as well, so that they can continue to answer your questions as you move closer to possibly making that decision. And there's lots of price points, so don't be discouraged. That's kind of what I do in life, is I take people and their budget and their care needs, and I match them up with a facility that is most likely to meet their needs for a long period of time. Don't go into a couple of facilities and see that they're $5,000 or $6,000 and it's outside of your budget and be discouraged and think they all cost that. There's lots of price points. There's people out there that are happy to help you look for something within your budget. Then there's skilled nursing facilities, which have traditionally been called nursing homes. We lovingly refer to them as SNFs now. Those can cost between $6,000 to $12,000 per month for individuals who have to pay privately in a skilled nursing facility. Who else pays for skilled nursing care? Medicare on a limited basis. For example, unfortunately, there's a hip fracture that goes into hip surgery, and you have to go for a rehabilitation stay. Medicare is going to pay for that for a short period of time. Your medical insurance will pay a certain amount for a limited period of time. Long-term care insurance will pay for those long-term benefits. You can pay privately. And then Medicaid will pay for a long-term care bed in an appropriate Medicaid facility. And it's not just for end of life. As I mentioned, those hip fractures, knee replacements, post-surgery, post-stroke, those kind of things, short-term stays are what skilled nursing is really meant for. In the state of Florida, they've licensed assisted living facilities to provide a higher level of assistance through their licensing, and knowing the difference in the licenses of assisted living, so that the chronically and critically ill amongst us are going into the nursing homes or the skilled facilities versus those that just need the hands-on care. Those, they like to go into the assisted living and have a less restrictive lifestyle. I mentioned the circle of concern concept. I just like to say where I got it. I did not invent it. I did not make it up. I read it and I love it. My Mother, Your Mother by Dr. Dennis McCullough, who's brilliant, is a great book, especially Kathy, you're taking care of your mom. Stormy and Deb, I think you said a mom as well. But it applies to dads, it applies to uncles, aunts, any family member that you might be taking care of. It's a fantastic read for anybody who's getting into the caregiving business and just needs a little extra direction.
Here's where I get to mention again that Dennis McCullough was my primary care physician up in New England when my husband and I were new parents. And he was an extraordinary man, an extraordinary doctor, and it's an extraordinary read. And I would highly suggest it to anybody who's starting down that path. It just is, you know, it's out on, it needs to be on everybody's bookshelf.
Absolutely. You can get it on Amazon. Beth and I don't think we get anything for that. We don't even get a nickel for that recommendation, but you can get it on Amazon pretty easily. It's a great read. I would say you could borrow mine, but he signed it for me. So the answer is no, you can't borrow mine. It's practically under glass in my living room. So I'm just going to say thank you. I know that was a lot of information in a short period of time. Again, I would encourage you to go back to the Aging Matters series on their Facebook. I think it might be on their website as well, but the different series, and you'll see my talk. It's longer, but it's also slower. So if I talked a little fast for you, you'd be able to see it. I think it's a little bit more able to be comprehended there. And then also in the 3 quick tips series, you'll see me again. So if there's any information that I dropped here that you're not quite clear on, this is my information. You're welcome to follow up with me. Beth, I hope that's what you were looking for. And if anybody has any questions.
So yeah, so Kathy, have you got any questions at this point?
I don't right now, but after I look over this, I probably will.
Yeah, that's great. I'm hoping that I'm hoping that Kathy and Deb, that you both have found this interesting and informative, and sort of a first step, kind of stick your toe in it, kind of a thing for caregiving. We can certainly, this is very fluid and new for all of us. Lori and Allie and Kara, this is and mine first time doing this, so we're going to learn as we go along. My hope is that we'll be building on this knowledge base every week as we go in. So Kathy and Deb, if you want to join next week and you've thought of questions, please feel free to write down things that you've thought of over this week, and we can talk about that at the beginning part of next week's seminar. Allie's going to be joining us again. That's the Allie that's down in the corner with the long hair, not pulled back. That's waving. Not the Allie in the red shirt. That's Lori. Allie's going to be joining us next week, along with another of my my coworkers, Rose, they're going to be talking about just exactly what Kara was saying, care management, case management, and also Rose is going to be talking on home modifications. So kind of what things do we physically have to, if you're looking at keeping your family member in your home, and that's where you are right now, what are we looking at there? And hopefully, Allie, I'm going to press you into service to be able to help us answer some questions. And I'm certainly going to be in touch with Kara. I'm, to see if I can back into some answering some questions if we get any questions along those lines next week. So please, both of you, think about what it is you want for next week and write them down as you think about them, as you talk them over with the other people in your circle of concern, and with your family members that need the help too. I think we need to always remember the person that we're looking to caregive for, and involve them to the extent that we can, involve them in these conversations. And because I think sometimes it gets very easy to sort of, not loop them in as much as we really kind of should. I'm going to ask Deb if have you got any other questions? I'm not sure we totally answered all of your questions. Yes, I think you're right. She said, I do need to talk to a care management person. It's going to be a lot for me to manage. Mom wants to get some assistance. Yeah. And sometimes I really think that, sometimes it's okay to admit that we can be a family member. And that's really what we need to do, is be that daughter or that spouse, or that, or sometimes it's that sibling, or, and the primary care person, or that person that case manages, is kind of just a step too far. It doesn't mean you're no longer a caregiver, but to know where your skill set lies and know where you're the most effective in helping. I think that's part of what we're going to be talking about next week, Allie, is sort of that, we talked about it with folks before. I think care management and case management is sort of like being a general contractor for building a house. You don't necessarily know whether or not, if you're going to be a general contractor, you need to know how to schedule the electrician and the inspectors and the plumbers and everybody, and the drywall guy and everybody, and keep all of that orchestration happening at the same time. That doesn't mean you're the one that's buying the house. You don't have to do both. So in any case, I hope that Deb and Kathy, you both come back for next week's session. It's going to be at 2:00, and next week, Tuesday, and it will be on adjusting, and we're calling that session Adjusting to a New Normal. I thank you, both of you, for joining us, and I of course thank Kara and Lori and Allie too for coming in today, and I hope everybody's found this interesting.
Thank you all. I
Thank
appreciate the help.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Seeing some of you guys again. And Kara, if you want to join us for some more of these, feel free to hop in on them, okay?
I just might have to. I'm intrigued.
Same thing for you, Lori.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. And have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.